our project is called Curiosity and Logic.
Yeah, feel free to open it up. So
yeah. And then the experiment was to show that people that to see if the left brain or right brain was to be the dominant of how you were in your grade. So the hypothesis was if the people that have a higher grade percentage in math or biology, that means that they were left brain. And if the people that were right brain, that means that they were better at art and humanities. And that was what the brain was mostly dominant for the body.
Can you guys explain your literature review before we go into the scientific experiment, please?
We had to identify the parts of the brain. So we found out that the front lobe was associated with reasoning and planning. And the temporal lobe was associated with perception and memory. And the parietal lobe was associated with orientation. And the occipital lobe was with visual processing. And we thought we were like more investigation on the spinal cord and how it sends like the neurons to the brain and how it sends information towards it. And we learned about the cerebrum that controls the balance of the brain. So that was what we identified first to know what we were dealing with the left and right dominance.
Awesome.
And then we found out that the right brain controls like creativity and like more of like help and like imagination and then
and that's what makes you right brain?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the left brain was more like independence and calculations and like more better with math and like better with like reasoning and problem solving. And we found that the percentage of people that are like left brain is like 10% and most of the population, 90% of the population is right brain. So we found that was kind of interesting to know and important for our project to see if that would also contribute to the students' data. And we also found out that the right side controls your left side of your body, and that the left side controls the right side of the body. And if you were like to injure one of the brains, it would injure the opposite side. And then there has been research done on this, and that it was done that supposedly it kind of was like that. Like if people were like left brain, they were pretty good at certain like hobbies and certain subjects. And the one who started this experiment was Roger W. Sperry, and he found out more about how to like reduce seizures, and that was what he wanted to know if that also like contributed to like what dominance we were.
Okay. So we're at 5 minutes. I should hear from both of you equally, so that would be 1 more minute, Norma, and then we're going to go to Kimberly.
And during like the procedure we did was mostly like do the survey first and figure out how to do it, and before we even sent it to the students. And then we found other links to other surveys, and that's how we took on the students.
Awesome.
Okay, so
talk to me about the survey and then your procedures and then your results, please.
Okay. So our survey was mostly just questioning them on things like what is your grade percentage in math and humanities and art, and that was our own survey that we made up. And another survey that they took was based like online. We didn't create it, so it was questions like hobbies and stuff. Do you like to read? Do you like to draw? And so they answered that. And another survey, so they took in total 3 surveys, and the last one, it wasn't really a survey, it was more like a test on a video. So they saw a woman spinning, and they had to determine if they saw it turning clockwise or counterclockwise. If they saw it turning clockwise, then they were right-brained. If they saw it counterclockwise, then they were left-brained.
Okay. Can you talk about any retesting you did? Because you didn't just jump right into it. Did you sample your assessments on anybody, or?
I was sampled.
You were sampled, so you sampled in each other to make sure they made sense first. What software or how did you store your data?
We used Google Docs.
You used Google Docs, and what did you create in Google Docs?
We created a survey, and we emailed it to all the students that had agreed to participate in our experiment, and they took them, and we asked them to give us their results, and we wrote them down.
And then the other test you did one-on-one with them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you make sure that you were keeping constants in your experiment?
We would like each putting the students like kind of in their own computer,
Okay.
and we were like taking like I guess like kind of like observing how long they would take for each question, and the Google Docs would also like make their own graphs, so we kind of analyzed on that too.
Let's talk a little bit about if you were to redo this process, if you were to retest or to redo this topic, what would you do differently? And I'm in the question and answer, guys, so you owe me a little bit more time as far as your presentation goes. And I'd also like to hear what your your hypothesis was, since you told me what the lit review was. Tell me what your hypothesis was.
Our hypothesis was to see if grades determined whether you're right or left brain. So if you were if your grade percentage was high in biology and stat and
Was that your prediction, though, or was that your
Yeah.
problem statement? Because what was your prediction that the outcome would be? That's a hypothesis. Did you guys think that you would be testing the 90% right brain? Is that what you were sort of testing?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were testing against the research that had already been done. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. All right, continue to explain.
So after they took the surveys and we analyzed the data, we saw that most females in the high school were right brain and very few were left.
What percentage?
I think it was 8.8
So 8 out of how many?
out of 10.
8.8 out of 10 or 8 out of 10?
Well, it's like 8 out of 10 because.
So it was 80%. So you had an 80% rate, and you'd said that that was right brain.
Yeah.
So you guys were really. What was the boys' rate?
The boys was from high school was around the same. It was like 6 point. No, it wasn't. It was like 60%.
So the boys were a little less. So you guys didn't quite meet the assumption of the 90% right brain.
Yeah.
Got it. What about your lower grades?
For lower grades, the girls scored really high on the left brain, which 90.2, which
Okay.
was like 90% on left brain, and then the guys scored high on the left brain as well. From middle school, they had like a 70.
Can you talk to me about what are some problems you had to solve while you were doing this project?
We had to see when everyone was available,
Mhm.
so maybe that could have been a scientific error because they all took it on different days, so depending on their mood, maybe they would have answered things
Good.
differently.
Very good answer. Keep going.
Um,
Any other scientific error that you could think could have come out of it?
The fact that they were like asking us questions like, "Oh, do you think I'm this?" I couldn't say anything
Mm-hmm.
in response to that, and that they were kind of like talking to each other and like asking other like within their students like, "Oh, do you think I do this?" Like it was mostly them individually, but they were asking others.
So how would you set it up different if you were to redo this exact same experiment?
maybe to
You're fine. We have 2 more minutes, guys.
Like
It-
putting them separately.
because something we came across also is like when we surveyed the people we knew, we kind of thought, should we like determine whether they're
Because they wanted to
left?
respond. They
Yeah.
wanted to know whether they were.
Like
Yeah.
we
Got
should
it.
base it off their personality since we know it well, but we decided to go with the data instead.
If you were to do this experiment again, how many more people would you test? Or would you test exactly the same amount?
I think we would test like more of like the entire class
Mm-hmm.
to see like not
So
just like
give me a number. How many do you think would be a better sample of boys and girls?
Maybe 30?
30 for each grade age.
Okay. And what would that do for your experiment?
That would like give us more data and like
More
more
variety.
analysis rather than just like 10 people.
Excellent. What are your conclusions and any considerations that came out of this research that you would like to know more about? So I would like to know what your conclusions of the experiment were, and also what would you consider, if you were to do another experiment similar to this topic, what would you do differently?
So in conclusion, we came to be just because you were good at a certain activity or that involves left or right brain, it doesn't mean that you're specifically that side. So if I was really good at math, but like on the other hand, I'm like really creative, I could have been like right brain dominance, even though I'm good at math and logic.
Okay. And what about future research? What would you do in the future? Again, if you were to redo a similar experiment, is there another part of this that you found interest in that you may have done a different experiment with?
I mean, I guess like further research would be like seeing how like taking survey on the kids whether they're right or left, but then using it to help teachers to know how they could teach their kids better,
Awesome.
and like visual learning or like more like
So almost adding it like we did for the philosophy of learning, but
Yeah.
maybe talk about right and left brain as a learning style as well. I think that's a great idea. What was the most difficult thing about your experiment? Last question.
The most difficult thing about the experiment was like getting people to actually like
Do it on time.
do it on time and think about it like more by themselves. Like,
Could you have started earlier?
yeah, I would have started earlier.
Okay, cool. So you guys would have thought about the design process a little earlier. Excellent. Nicely done, guys. Can I see your both of your lab notebooks and your citation?